Today's sermon is called Big Ish. So, let me begin by saying that I have two daughters. One is almost 5, just about to be 5, and the other is 1. Okay? And the 1-year-old wants to be 5 so bad. The 1-year-old, her life consists of trying to be 5. Because she sees 5 walking around the place and she wants to be big. She wants to be just like her. So, the way the 5-year-old walks, the 1-year-old wants to walk. And when the 5-year-old is running, the 1-year-old wants to run. Right? And this phenomenon where when the 5-year-old goes to the dining table and sits on a normal adult chair, the 1-year-old climbs up, even though she can't really climb. She climbs up to sit on that chair, fighting to balance herself because she wants to be big. Right? And if the big sister is eating noodles, she says, doodles. She don't want a milk. She want noodles. And then she see her sister eating chicken, so she said, chicken. And she want chicken. If you're not going to give her chicken, you have to at least give her a bone. You understand? Because she wants to be big. She wants to be big like her sister. And so we give her a bone every now and then. And she doesn't even really have teeth, all that many teeth yet, but she wants to be big. Something happened the other day. They're getting ready for bubble bath time. So daddy getting them ready for bubble bath, right? Something I do for them on Friday evenings. Okay, so they're getting ready and so they're both in the room, and big sister takes her shirt off. So little sister, she fights and she gets her top off. And she's so excited because she's being big. Right? And the big sister take off her pants, and then little sister goes on, she was able to take off her shorts. Right? Little sister take off big sister took off what was left. Little sister stood there in her Pampers. And the problem with the Pampers is it can't come off so easy. Right? It's not something that it's made so that a 1-year-old can't take it off. Right? It has this Velcro thing, and she's trying to take it off, and she said, pam, 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 pam. Right? Pam, pam. And I'm saying, okay, come here, baby, let daddy take it off for you. No. I said, come, dad. She said, no, she wants to be big. Trying to take it off herself. Right? Pam, 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 pam. I said, let daddy take it off for you. No, daddy, no. She wants to take off her pam, pam, fighting to take off her pam, pam by herself. Eventually, I said, baby, there are just some things you can't do. I said, no, she wants to take off pam, pam by innate inside her is this passion, this desire. Something inside her says, I want to be big. I want to be big. I want to be independent. I want to be able to do what she does. I want to be a big person. That little girl wants to be big. Eventually, daddy had to help her take off the pamper, or she would have stood there forever, fighting to do it herself with a pamper full of stuff. You know what kind of stuff? Stuff that, you get the picture? I need you to get the picture. Because all by herself, she's standing there with her stuff. Right? Fighting to be big, but she's not big enough. She's stuck with her stuff. So here's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. Adults have the tendency to want to be big. All of us want to be big. But the kind of big where we do things by ourselves. The kind of big where we do things on our own. The kind of big where we don't want no help. And many of us find ourselves standing there full of stuff. Many of us will stand with our stuff in our life because we want to fix it and do it and handle it on our own. We want to be big. How many of you want to be big? I'm telling you, this whole idea of fighting to be big is the biggest problem in life today. I'm here to tell you, your biggest problem in life is not your ex-wife. Some of you watching. It's not your baby daddy. Your biggest problem in life is not your boss. It's not that crazy co-worker. Your biggest problem is not the taxi drivers on the road. Your biggest problem, ladies and gentlemen, is not evil in the world. Your biggest problem is not sin that sometimes exists in your life, your biggest problem is something called ish. Somebody say ish. Your ish is your issues, right? Your ish is your biggest problem. Let me tell you what your ish is. You need to figure out what ish is, because ish existed before sin. Ish existed before evil. Ish existed before the taxi drivers, right? Let me just show you. Genesis chapter 2, in the beginning, Genesis chapter 2, verse 23. The word is Adam, said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. Isha," or she, somebody say Isha, "shall be called woman, for Isha was taken out of Ish." Right? And actually verse 24 says, "For this reason, Ish shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, his Isha, and they shall become one flesh." Ish here is the designation of the self. Somebody say self. Right? It is the designation of the male self, Ish, and the female self, Isha. I'm here to tell you that your primary problem in life is not sin, it is the Ish. It is the self. Your self is the problem. Turn to somebody and say, "Are you full of Ish?" Your problem could be that you're full of Ish, that you're full of yourself. Make sure you say Ish, you know. Sin is not your problem. I'm messing with some of your theology today because I'm pointing out some truth that maybe you've never heard before. There was something that existed before sin in man, right? And it was their Ish, themself that was there, right? And the self-ishness of man and woman, somebody say Ish, that selfishness is a problem. Everybody wants to be big. Everybody is fighting in life from them young to be big-ish. How many of you want to be big-ish? Here's the story of what happened. Adam and Eve were in the garden, and, Isha and Isha were in the garden, okay? And then the enemy, Satan, came to Eve, came to Isha. Adam was right there, and he came and he began to talk to their Ish, right? And he said this is what Genesis 3 verse 5 says, "For God knows," so can you eat from this tree? You sure you can't eat from this tree? Right? Now remember, this is before sin existed, right? Can you eat from this tree? I said, "No, I can't eat from this tree." He said, "No, man, you should be able to do it, because God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes are going to be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Don't you want to be like God? And he's talking to her Isha, and he says to her Isha, he says, "Isha, don't you want to be like God? Where you can know things, know what you want, when you want, where you can know things and do things." Look at how delightful it could be if you were not under God. Wouldn't you like to be big like God? Can you imagine? And Eve thought about it, and she said, "Yes. I mean, I like myself. I like myself the way I am. I like the way things are with me and God. But if it is possible for me to be bigger, if it's possible for me to know more, if it's possible for me to somehow be big all by myself," she chose to be biggish. She said, I want to be separate. I want to be big. I want to be big. I want to be like God. I want to be big like God. What they chose, of course, Adam came right after and saw Eve's Ish and said, "I want to be like that." Adam and Eve chose autonomy. Somebody say autonomy. They chose independence from God. Okay? Now I'm going to define independence for you so you can see what they chose. Independence is defined as this: to be free from outside or above down control, not subjected to another authority. I want to be my own authority, they said. I want to be free to do all of what I want to do. Right? Another definition: not dependent on anybody else for livelihood or sustenance. Now, you don't get to be free but still be able to depend on another. You get me? Right? You don't get to depend and be free. You don't get to be not dependent but still under the control. Both of this is the holistic definition. Can I read it for you again? Adam and Eve chose to be free from control of anybody else, and in that they chose to not be dependent on anybody else, or the inability any longer to look to somebody, right, for somebody else to give you livelihood or sustenance. It really is interesting that everybody since then, all of us, from we're born, before we even sin, before we even consider what the sin nature has done to us, whatever your theology of that is, one thing we know that we're born with is the ish factor. We're born with the selfness, the selfishness that is separate from sin, right? We're born, and from we're young, we're growing up, and our goal is to be independent. Not true. Some are still fighting to be independent. Right? Our goal is to be independent. We want to grow up to be independent. Right? But you need to understand today that none of us, man and woman, were never created to be independent from God. You are not created to be independent from God and separated from Him in any kind of a way. You actually are supposed to, rather than growing independently, you are supposed to grow dependent on God. How many of you have been growing dependent on God? You need to figure this stuff out very, very quick. Because choosing independence and autonomy is a rejection of God control. So when you reject God control, right, all you are left with is self-control. And I'll know someone can't find your self-control. Ish control. You step out of God control, what you're left with is self-control. I hope you found your self-control, if that's the case, right? When we chose independence, we rejected God as the source, and all we are left with is self-sufficiency. All we are left with is being self-sustaining, self-reliant, self-supported. Somebody say, that's a lot of ish. When we step out from from Him as our source, we're left with self. We have to self-rely, self-supply. And that's a scary place to be. I don't know how many of you are scared of that. See, it's better to stay under God, you see, because God is omni and we are just ish. What I'm saying is, God is omnipotent, God is all-powerful, and the best we can ever be is just strongish. God is all-knowing, right? Omniscient, and the best we can ever be is smart-ish. Some of you think you're smart, but you're just smart-ish. Some of you are strong, but you really are just strongish. Some of you are cute, but you're just cutish. All you have is your ish, if that's what you choose. All you have is your ish. So God is saying, like Adam and Eve, as big people, we've grown big, we have to choose. Okay? Choose whether you're going to continue growing independent or whether you're going to grow dependent. The other day, I took my 1-year-old, 1.5, outside. She's so cute. Took her outside. There was a bearer there bringing something for me, and he rides a motorcycle. Okay, so I had this brilliant idea. Since her mother was not looking, I decided I'm going to put my daughter on the bike with the rider, right? Because, Richard came and he's on the bike and I say, baby, you want to go on the bike? You want to go on the bike? And she said, I don't know. You know what I mean? She didn't even really know what her bike was, right? I mean, it's being revved and it's all that. She wasn't scared of it, but she really didn't know. She didn't care. I said, you want to go on the bike? It's fun. It's fun. So I picked her up and I put her on the back of the bike. And I said, no, be careful. Just ride, go down, so and come back. We're at the house. And I said, just ride, go down, so and come back. And I said, while her mother was not looking. While her mother wasn't looking. No, he's a good rider. No, at the back. She was behind him. So I said, hold on. Okay. All right, no, she wasn't at the back. She was at the front. Lord have mercy. So she's at the front. And I say, just, hold on tight. And she's like this. So a little bit scared. She felt the rev. And she goes, and they go down the road. And I can hardly see her. Take my phone out and I said, this is going to be good to capture on video. And then she comes back down, and when she leaves me, she's like this. When she comes back, she's like this. As a matter of fact, let me show you. When she comes back, she's like this. Spread out on the bike. I said, she has this smile on her face. She's hugging that gas tank. She's like, she has on a onesie. And I said, Lord have mercy. I said, come off of the bike. So, unfortunately now, what happens is that anytime a bike ride up to the house, she runs to the gate, Richard. I said, Lord have mercy, what have I done? Richard, bike back. I want bike back. I said, Lord have mercy, what did daddy do? She love her bike back, and I have this picture of her. I mean, whose fault is this, right? 12 years, maybe 14 years from now, she going to be running down, bike back. She's going to be hiding, she's going to be running on the back of a bike just because somebody put her on her bike back and she fell in love with the bike back. Let me explain something to you. My daughter, listen to this, is dependent on daddy to give her knowledge. Right? My daughter is dependent on daddy to give her the experiences that are good for her and the ones that are not good for her. My daughter's daddy, me, I am responsible for what, when, and how she gets her information and her experiences. I have the power to do that. I am responsible for her as her father to put her on the back of a bike or not. I decide when she gets what knowledge. I decide what school she go to, what she watches. You understand? She is dependent on me to give her, to disseminate knowledge. And it's up to me to give her at the right time, to give her the right amount, right? And to give her what the knowledge that is actually good for her. Whose fault is it going to be 14 years from now if she still love bike back? And if every time I bike ride by, she twitch. Oh, Richard. Lord have mercy. I decide, therefore, when my daughters are taught and how they're taught about sex. I protect. They're dependent on me. Now, when she gets older, she's going to have to make some decisions. She's going to then decide whether she is fighting to be independent from me or not. as she gets bigger, as she starts to think that she's big-ish, she's going to have to start to decide whether she's going to be independent from daddy or independent from God. She's going to grow up to where she has to decide if she wants to be independent or still dependent on her daddy. You see, she's going to grow and fight for something called autonomy, I believe. Independence. I think she's going to, it's natural in her ish, right? And that is going to make her then be responsible for all the knowledge she has. When she steps out from me being dependent on her, she is now responsible for all the knowledge that she should have and all of the knowledge that she don't get already. She's going to have to live with what she went and did by herself. She's going to have to decide whether she wants to. She's going to be responsible for knowing what she should know when daddy's not around or if she runs away from daddy. Here's what I'm saying. Because Adam and Eve wanted to know all that they wanted to know when they wanted to know it, because they pursued the knowledge of good and evil, because they wanted to know all, now they are responsible for knowing what they should know. When we decide to know for ourselves, we are left with the reality that we are responsible to know what we're supposed to know. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of things in life going to hit you, and then somebody is going to say, well, you should have known. Listen, you are responsible now because you're big-ish. You are responsible to know that you must brush your teeth. I mean, they were telling you when you were growing up to brush your teeth. But you're responsible now for knowing that. You're responsible for wiping. You're responsible for knowing that the fish have bones in it. If you don't know, guess what happens? You get joked. But you're responsible for knowing. You're responsible for knowing what medicine to take when you take medicine and what medicine not to take. You're responsible for the direction in your life. You're responsible for knowing which way to go, which way to drive. You're responsible for knowing what is right and wrong. You are responsible for knowing your own purpose. You are responsible, every man and woman is responsible for knowing who Jesus is. If them don't know, they don't know. Too many of us, right, we choose the guessing game. We choose the independent guessing the game. The autonomy where we find ourselves responsible for all the knowledge we have. Guessing. We're guessing our purpose. We're guessing who to be with. We're guessing what to do. A lot of people are guessing. Meanwhile, God is saying, I would like you to be dependent on me. I would like you to hand over the responsibility to me and be dependent on me. I will tell you the truth you need, when you need it and how you need it. What God is saying is, I'm not going to put you on the back of a bike before it's time or before it's good for you. How many of you are understanding what I'm saying? Independence. We choose to know. When you choose to know, when you choose to be autonomous and independent, you choose all of the responsibility of knowing. Also, many of us, what we do is we choose to do. Some of you very recently choose to do something you know God didn't want you to do. Right? So we choose to do what we want, when we want, and how much of it we want. Like Adam and Eve, we keep choosing. We want to be big. We want to be free to do what we want to do, when we want to do it, with who we want to do it with. Right? It's not true. That's what we choose. So, bubble bath night. I have both of my daughters in the bubble bath, right? And I'm there with them, and I make the water, the bath bubbly, And it's a big tub, and both of them are in there, and they're just having a lot of fun, right? I give them stuff to play with, and they're playing and wetting each other up, and they're really having a lot of fun. Again, one of them is 5, and the other one is almost, it's just one and a half or something. So they're in the tub. And the other day I said, okay, you guys having fun? Yes, Daddy. Yes, Daddy. I said, love bubble bath? Yes, Daddy. Yes, the bubble bath. They're so excited. I said, okay, I'll soon come back. Amara just watches his stuff a little bit. I'll soon come back. Go downstairs for something. I'm getting something. And Marsha says, hey, baby. I said, hi, baby. Say, are the girl, what's happening? I said, well, they're upstairs having their bubble bath. I'm so the best daddy in the world. And she's like, so both of them are upstairs. Where are they? I said, yeah, they're both in the tub. What do you mean both of them are in the tub? I said, don't worry. Amara, who is about to be 5, is watching Malia. I got this. She said some stuff that I can't say in church. Not bad stuff. She didn't curse, but it was like, yeah, idiot. So if Amara watching Malia, who watching Amara? This man do have no sense. Sometimes this man do have no sense. Ran upstairs and left me. Bubble bath night, Daddy. All right. Listen to this. The worst thing in life, the most scary thing in life is when you give someone without ability. Hold on. No. The joke, this is not the joke, it's not a joke. This is the serious part. So here's what I learned. The worst thing in life is when you give someone without ability responsibility. Yeah, idiot. So if she watching her, who can watch her? Because she doesn't have the ability. You have to understand, ability is the linchpin of responsibility. If you are not able, you cannot respond enough to handle what you're being asked to handle. If you don't have the ability, don't ask for the responsibility. What you are responsible for, you must have the ability to do. You see, when man chose autonomy and independence, they chose to take responsibility for something they don't have the ability to do. So it's all gravy, it's all nice, it's all fun and games when you are within your strength and your ability. Some of you are having a whole lot of fun when you can handle stuff, when you are big enough to handle it. But when something comes along that's outside of your ability and your strength, that's when you start to wish you weren't that free. Wish you weren't that autonomous. When it's a serious thing. It's a whole lot of fun and games for a lot of people until they're bathing and they feel a lump. It's a lot of fun and games playing until your child vomits up blood. It's a lot of fun and games until you've done all you can and you can't do anymore and everything is falling and failing. It's all fun and games until you don't have any more answers for your marriage. It's breaking, it's broken. It's all fun and games until you spend all your money. It's all fun and games while you're within your limit of ability. But the issue with choosing independence is that you chose the responsibility. So if that thing is falling down, you better catch it. The problem is choosing autonomy where there is no ability. The problem is choosing autonomy when there is limited ability. So we've chosen to do all we want to do And when you do that, you choose to do it alone. And you can only do what you're able to do. So when you say, I'm going to do me, I'm going to do me. This is me. I'm living my best life. Right? I'm going to do me. When you choose to do you, you're doing it all alone. Autonomy means alone. I don't think you should do it alone. What you need is God's response to your situation and God's ability in your situation. What you should choose rather than your responsibility is God's response and God's ability in your situation. I don't know about you, but I want God to respond for me, as we would say in Jamaica. God responds to me. Be responsible for me, please. Guide me. I want your resources. Protect me, provide for me. Yeah, I'm a big man, but you bigger. I'm just big-ish. So a lot of us wait till we are at our limit, the limit of our strength, to go to God. God is saying, what you need to do is you need to understand your limitations and start there. Don't come to me after you finish. Come to me from the start. I'm just going to close with this. The main point today is that God did not create you to grow independent of Him. He created you to grow dependent on Him. You can grow dependent on God. That's what Jesus did. Jesus, just so you understand, He was all God. He had all of the omni stuff, all of the power and the knowledge, and He was God. But then when He came down to earth, the Bible says He came down as a mere-ish, as mere man. Right? And He gave up the all-knowing and the all-powerful stuff to become man. And He had a choice at that moment. I've gone from being all of this to just ish, sometime-ish, right? And just some-ish. I need to figure this out. What Jesus chose to do was to grow dependent on God. Just in case you're wondering what made Jesus so powerful in every way, it's because He chose dependence, not independence. Let's read these scriptures. Mark 1:35 says that Jesus used to wake up early in the morning and connect with God. Early, right? Let's read it. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, leave the house, because maybe it was too loud and people were there and He just wanted to get away, went off to a solitary place where He would pray and He would connect with God. All right, let's look at another scripture. Matthew 14:23. After He dismissed them, preaching, teaching, doing all this wonderful stuff, He went up on a mountainside where He could be by Himself to pray again, to connect. Later that night, He was still there alone. All when evening come, some versions say, all when evening come, Him still there by Himself. Connecting with God. Not connecting with everybody else, but connecting with God. So early in the morning, during the day, Luke 6:12. At night, one of those days, Jesus went out to the mountainside to pray and spent the entire night praying to God. It's as if He said, tonight I'm going to connect with God. Tonight I'm going to depend on God. So I'm going to make sure that I'm connected with God and I'm not leaving there until. So that's what we learned from Jesus. In order to grow up dependent on God, you have to go down on your knees before God. Some are trying to grow up when you need to go down. So Jesus would do something like this. In the morning and in the evening, throughout the day and all night. He would leave everybody, right? Every other source, everybody else that make him feel good about himself, every other need that he would leave everybody. He would leave all of the issues of life. He would leave all of the responsibilities. And he would go to his Father, and he would go on his knees early in the morning, in the evening, or all night, and he would just stay there. And he would say, God, I'm not leaving here until. God, I'm dependent on you for everything. Everybody is demanding so much of me. You know, the people, they're poor, they're lost, they're sick, and everybody's coming to me. Everybody coming to me for a word. I have to be so strong. They want signs and wonders, God, and all I am is strongish. All I am is smartish. I don't just want to be biggish. I want you, God. And he would do something like that. He would say, you know what? Not my will, but yours be done. Not my will, but yours be done. Not my will, but yours be done. Not my ish, but your will. Not my power, but your power. Not my knowledge, but your knowledge. Not my will, oh God, but yours be done. And he wouldn't get up until he had enough. Show me your way, oh God, that I may walk with you. Show me your way. Because I have a way. There's a way I did it before. But show me the now way. Show me your way. That I may walk with you. And that I may grow stronger today than I was yesterday. Show me your way. And Jesus wouldn't get up until he had enough of God. Until his ish was dead enough. See, some of you think that the first time Jesus died was when he was on the cross. Jesus would cause his ish, his self, to die. The man part of him. So you're going dead today because there's so much responsibility not being taken, but responsibility being given to me in purpose. So, God, I need you. Jesus would die to himself in the morning, die to his ish in the evening, and go and die some more later. He would go before God and download and depend. And then Jesus would get up, and the Word of God says Jesus would do only what he already saw and heard his Father do. Jesus wasn't getting up in some kind of guessing game, talking about, is this thing going to work today or not? What do I do today? Jesus didn't get up and guess. He got up and did exactly what he saw when he was on his knees before God. And if he didn't see anything else, he went back to his knees to see again. And if his ish was rising up, he would get back down on his knees and say, my ish needs to die a little more. Because the world does not need a strong, independent Jesus. The world needs a strong, dependent Jesus. He went down so that he could grow up. Jesus got up from those moments of dependency and kept going, right? And he taught like no one else has ever taught. Jesus is heralded as the best teacher the world has ever seen. Nobody not teach like Jesus. No one's words and teachings stand close to his. In every religion, he is heralded as the greatest teacher. He taught the people and he blew their mind. He prophesied and he saw things. You know, he prophesied. He spoke the word of God. He discerned spirits, and all of that is because Not because he was God, but because he was dependent on him. Jesus got up and they would bring lame people to him. That means people that can't walk. And he would pray for them and they would walk. He would go to somebody who couldn't see and he would, spit on mud and put it on the eyes and then they would walk away seeing. He would go to people that can't hear and he would lay his hands on them and they would hear again or hear for the first time. He would go somewhere and them say, say your brethren dead. And he would just raise him from the dead. Jesus was able to walk in all of that power because he bowed in dependency on God. He didn't do any of that on his own power. He did all of that because he was depending. You see, some of you are wondering, why I can't do nothing? Why can't I do God, we want signs and wonders. What happened to the signs and wonders of the... Well, God is up there saying, what happened to the dependency? I mean, you want miracles, you want healing, but you're not talking about not my will but yours be done. You can't be big and small at the same time. Your ish can't be big and bowed down at the same time. You have to choose. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm simply saying today, stop dipping. What I mean is this. Some of us, it's like we're kind of just dipping into the power and dipping into the knowledge. So we come to church-ish. You go to church? Yeah, ish. Right? You go to Bible study-ish. I pray-ish. I pray sometimes. Right? We're trying to dip and just take a little toops off of this thing. It don't work like that. That's not where knowledge comes from and power that will change your world. It comes from full dependency. What I'm saying is, God is saying, get down on your knees, bow down before me, line yourself up with me, get dependent on me, and don't get up until you know what I'm saying to you. Don't get up until you know. Don't get up until you hear what the truth that I'm trying to tell you. Some of you get up too quick. Or you go down for 5 minutes and you're sleeping. You fall asleep. That's what Jesus did. He said, you guys want to come and connect with me? He said to his disciples, come and connect with me. I would love it. I'd love the help in prayer. And they all went with him. Jesus turned around. All of them sleeping. So you couldn't even just pray for a little bit. You couldn't even just depend for a little longer. Point is, what Jesus has for you is not just information. It's not just knowledge, it's wisdom. Some of you think that you can get 21 irrefutable laws of stuff. And you think that you're big. That's not helping you. You can learn the Toyota way all you want. But you need to know God's way. You need to know how to apply the law. I'm just saying, it's not about information, right? It's not just, you don't try to just be smart-ish. What you need is to get to God and ask him for application on some stuff, on everything. Say, God, I want to know what you are saying. I want revelation. Not getting up. Don't get up until you know. Just don't get up until you know. Don't get up until the pencil reaches down to the rubber or the ink run out. Don't get up until you're dead. You guys have read the Bible. It talks about dying to the self. This is what we're talking about. We're just talking about following God instead of you. Right? Just don't go down on your knees and say, not my will, but yours be done. Too much of us are walking around wondering whether it's what we're doing is our will or his will. No, well, don't get up until his will is your will. I'm just saying. Don't get up until you're dead. Don't get up until your ish is dead. Remember, Sin is not your primary problem. Sin has never been mankind's primary problem. Primarily meaning first. Yourself is. A submitted self will conquer sin every day, all day. I said a submitted self, a dead self, will conquer sin all day, every day. Ladies and gentlemen, don't get up until you're fully charged. Stay down until you're fully charged. Don't get up and operate in your own strength anymore. Stay down until you know that you have the fullness of God's power with you. Stay down until you're fully charged. Stay down until you're fully charged. It's time to stop dipping, coming every now and then, worshiping every now and then, asking God stuff, praying every. God is saying, I need you to be fully dependent on me. For you to achieve all of what I've called you to achieve means that you need to be fully dependent on me. God is saying, and I'm finished with this, I need you to be dependent on me because I'm looking for some people that I can be dependent on. God is looking for some people that he can depend on. And he's saying, you can depend on me. When you begin to depend on me, you'll become dependable. Go ahead and stand with me, please. I believe that wherever you are sitting today, wherever you are watching today, you have a choice to make. I believe that you have to choose dependency or independency. All of our life, we've grown up with this innate sense that we must grow big and that our self must become so strong. Well, it has its limitations. Let's make a decision to choose God. Let's make a decision to be dependent on him in every way, in everything in our life. Let's be dependent on him.
Hey, thank you so much for watching us here, Go for God Family Church on YouTube. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button to ensure that you get all of what is new from Go for God Family Church and to ensure that you don't miss anything.